Hey guys, welcome to JasonWhiskyWise, and myself, Jason, bringing you Whisky Review number 67, where today we're going to review the Glengoyne 10-year-old, and also this week we're going to feature all the Glengoynes from the 10 all the way up to the 25, the cask strength, and even afterwards a special of the teapot dram, as I'll be visiting the distillery and taking you along with me. So, we're going to begin the review with the entry level, which is the 10-year-old. I didn't want to begin with the cask strength because I felt it would be a bit overpowering, and then tasting something that is 40% will effectively damage the palate for the tasting. So I've reviewed all of these beforehand, and what I'm going to do is sort of go through my notes and take you along with me on the journey of Glengoyne. Now you can see there is a very little miniature bottle here. This is the 10, which I've got over here, which is effectively classified as a miniature. But I was lucky enough to go to a shop in London called Royal Mile, and they had this. It's a 10-year-old. It's effectively the Guinness World Book of Records smallest whiskey miniature that you'll ever find, and this is just like a few teardrops of Glengoyne 10 in there. So it's quite unique to have that. But let's get into the review of the 10-year-old before I waffle on about that, because that was actually more entertaining for me than actually having the bottle or the miniature. So it doesn't really serve you very well when you're doing a review. Now, to begin with my whiskey review style structure, it is a 10-year-old whiskey. It's bottled at an ABV of 40% ABV. The cask selection they do use, and I'm going to put a breakdown over here, they use 15% European, well, first fill European sherry oak casks, 15% American sherry oak casks, and the remaining 70% is refill oak casks. So you've got quite a lot going into this whiskey, and 30% being all first fill. Now, in terms of the distillery, it is the Glengoyne distillery, which you can see a picture of just over there. The parent company that do own them are Ian McLeod Distillers Limited, and they are based in the Highlands of Scotland. Now, it is literally on that borderline, just above it from the lowlands. So I think it's 40 minutes drive from Glasgow, but we'll see that when we're there at the end of the week. The price point on this whiskey is £32. Not for this one, not for this one, but for this one. So £32 for the full-size bottle. And in terms of exclusivity, no, it is not exclusive. It's part of the core range, as it's an entry-level dram. Now, in terms of caramel colour, they add no caramel colour to their whiskey, to I've been told and read, and it is quite a light whiskey, so you can see that as well. So, let's begin with the whiskey review itself. We'll assess the colour, and I'm going to hold that for you guys. You can dram along with me if you have the Glengoyne 10 at home. Let me know what colour you think this is. I'm going to go with the straw gold because it is quite light. So we'll begin by assessing the nose and we'll get into the review. So, into the nose. So, my first impressions of the nose, I'm getting a lot of what reminds me of sort of white grape, sort of like a Chardonnay sort of a wine. Sort of like a white wine, but a Chardonnay more specifically. But that slightly dryness on the nose as well. You are getting a little bit of a sour green apples, ever so slightly sour green apples. Right behind that you get a slight toffee sweetness, and this is like a toffee popcorn. You get those packets of toffee popcorn. Reminds me a little bit of that. And then right behind that you're getting these ripe green pears. More towards, I'd say, conference pears, very ripe. Just before you'd say you're going to throw them away, but you're getting that nice richness, but then at the same time it's quite nice and soft. And then a little bit on the end, sweeter notes. A little bit of what I'd say is white chocolate. But white milk, well, white milk chocolate. I'd say a combination, probably a little bit of milk chocolate, more white chocolate. So, very interesting on the nose on this one. Quite light, quite inviting. So let's next work our way into the palate. So, into the palate for this whiskey, it does have a very nice light texture on arrival. It then develops, you're getting a nice grassy note, and this reminds me of sort of like a golden hay. A slight maltiness on the mid palate, but not working its way all the way on the back. And then you make way on the back, on the front of the palate, you get those fruitier profile notes. And these, again, green apples, are very distinctive, sort of like a basket of those apples. A little bit of caramelized pears as well. You're getting the stewing them. It's like you've taken those ripe pears and now you finally put them in a pot and you're caramelizing them all together. You get those sweeter notes working their way through. A soft burst of spice and ever so gentle, and then it gets a little bit of a candied vanilla, but it's not so much, and then it sort of finishes kind of abruptly. but it doesn't sort of roll on the palate. So we're going to move into the finish of this whiskey, and then we'll come to my conclusion. So into the finish. So into the finish for this whiskey. The finish actually is quite a short finish. As I said, on the palate, ends a little bit too quickly for my liking. A little bit of the malty notes are reoccurring back here on the finish. And then a sweetness works its way, sort of like a sour, sour lemon drops almost. But then it's giving that little sweetness, but at the same time that citrus character, a little zing that works its way through on the end. So I'm going to give my rating for this whiskey and give you guys my overall comments. I am going to go over to this one. I'm going to give it 83 out of 100. Now, hopefully you can see that. The reason behind this one, it's what you can expect in an entry-level dram. They do use a nice combination of those first fill casks and the refill casks. You can definitely get the first fill character working its way through. It's not overpowering for the palate, which I find fantastic. And it's very, as I said before, it's very inviting. It's very enjoyable, so you can sit with this one. It's not going to knock your socks off, but you're going to get to able to sit there and enjoy it. But in terms of adding water, would I add any water to this whiskey? No, I tried it before. As you can see, I've gone a little bit for the dram. When you add water to this one, completely destroys it, and the texture just sort of falls apart, in my opinion. You can add a couple of drops, but anything more, I feel, just completely drowns the whiskey. In terms of time, you can give it a little time. It'll develop a slight sweeter profile on the palate and on the nose, and also you get those fruitier notes coming through. But overall, I think that will be it for this review. If you have enjoyed the review, by all means, feel free to drop it a like. Be sure to hit the subscribe button, which I'll leave here, and I'll leave the Glengoyne other videos when I upload them. And also be sure to check out my social medias, which I should have left at the beginning of the video. So anyway, on that note, if you have enjoyed the video, by all means, drop it a like, subscribe. This has been JasonWhiskyWise, and I'll catch you all for the next video.